Welcome back to Sunrise Spotlight. I'm Terissa Aronson, and now I'm here with our City of Fort Pierce representative. As you know, Sunrise Spotlight is all about the spotlight on Fort Pierce, what's going on, what's happening, what are we working on, and today we're going to talk about our response to COVID in Fort Pierce. So please welcome Audria Moore-Wells. I got your last name right. Recently new named, but not married. Long time married, but yeah, I know you weren't sure. Takes about a decade to be positive.
Yes, it does.
I get it. I get it completely.
Thank you for having me, and it's really a pleasure to talk to you. And I haven't seen you in a while.
We usually see each other at breakfast, and we've called that off since March. I think.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm not sure when 125 people are going to want to sit down together and eat.
True.
It might be some time. We're certainly in the middle of the pandemic still, and we're seeing spikes. And I think we will see spikes for a while. So I'm not sure when we're going to get back to that. But I'm happy that you're here to talk to us about our response, Fort Pierce response, where you can get tested. Let's dive into it.
Okay. Well, you know, the city of Fort Pierce, we came together at the beginning, well, I guess midway, or when everything was kind of people wanting to know what we need to do, how we need to do this or that. The city had a very, very comprehensive plan to address different needs in the community, whether it was residents or businesses or community groups. And through funding from CARES Act, and then we repurposed some other funds from the city in order to come up with a package that we could really impact the community in a positive way and help some individuals who were impacted by this pandemic.
Right. We're in double digit. We're almost at 15% unemployment. So let's talk about that first. Because you guys did, let's talk about what's in that package. How are you helping the individual that maybe has been misplaced?
Well, what occurred with our residents is we opened up a grant so that they could apply to receive funds to assist with their rent or either their mortgage assistance, because we had many people who were displaced by this pandemic because they had a loss of employment. So we were able to assist those individuals, and I know we just recently did an overview of where we were in the program, and we have also been able to help some of our smaller businesses with some assistance who had to be closed, were forced to close because of COVID. But I know that we have some funds available still, and we are looking at maybe opening up again to try and assist some additional individuals, and then maybe changing some of the requirements, because with the first wave, we found that, you know, we had some businesses who had just opened in 2018 or 2019, and they didn't have some of the needed documents to prove a loss.
Financial documents are hard to come by. And that's the problem with grants sometimes, because you get your money through a grant, so you have to account for it, and they help you set the requirements for giving that money out. So I want people to understand that it's not the city of Fort Pierce necessarily. They've said they will get this information in order to give you the money. So it makes it difficult. So if people find that hard.
Yes. But we're trying our best, and that's why we are going to be looking at it again.
Good.
To see how we can assist those who have the needed paperwork or who can get it, so that we can assist more people. It's been a really good experience, because we've been able to work together with some of our smaller businesses to help them to continue, you know, or to continue their business and hopefully stick around, because that's what we want to do.
Now, I'm going to bring up something old school that always comes up at the chamber, is boundaries. What happens is people call me up and they say, who's my utility provider? And I say, where do you live? They say Fort Pierce. And I say, no, you need to be a little more specific.
Correct.
Because unfortunately, even if you're in the unincorporated county here in St. Lucie County, your address will either be Fort Pierce or Port St. Lucie. There is no St. Lucie County unincorporated. So I got a couple of calls from people that were upset that they didn't qualify, because right now Fort Pierce is the only jurisdiction offering small monetary assistance to businesses. The other jurisdictions were just not able to do that.
Right.
And there's a reason for that, and I will get into it if somebody wants to reach me on Facebook, but there's a reason for it. So right now, you're the only ones doing that, but people were like, I'm in Fort Pierce, and I'm like, no, you're not. You're in the unincorporated county. I'm so sorry. So give us an idea of the boundaries of Fort Pierce so people at home watching know if their business is in the city of Fort Pierce. That's the first requirement.
Okay, yes, it has to be. So the boundaries for the city of Fort Pierce are on the southern end, around about Midway Road.
Yes.
And then on the western side, it's going to be, I believe, I just thought of it, 33rd.
It kind of weaves in and out of there.
It does.
So you really should check your tax record.
Or either the property appraiser.
If you're on the south side of Midway, you probably are not. The south side of Midway is not Fort Pierce, unfortunately.
No, there may be some properties.
I'm trying to think.
That might be along Midway. The best way to do that is to check.
Yeah, because that's the first thing to be eligible for that. But it's a great program. We appreciate you doing that. We really tried to look into that, but there's so many to help. There's not enough money. Would it be doing any good? You have a very smaller footprint than Port St. Lucie or the county, and so it's a little bit easier to try to tackle that. But for us to tackle it, we would just be disappointing the masses.
Yes,
you know, and I didn't want to do that, to be honest with you. Now, on the individual basis, there was a need for food.
Yes,
and we have lots of partners offering that. So, and I know the city's one of them. What do you guys got going on in that?
Well, I mean, we did. The one thing that this has shown is the resiliency of our community and the willingness for organizations to come together, set aside any differences or whatsoever, and actually address the need. And we found that, you know, we're stronger in numbers. We have worked with the Treasure Coast Food Bank, Boys and Girls Clubs, Graceway Village. And with Graceway Village, we were able to we worked together to reach out to a population of our community, our seniors and our physically handicapped. There's a community that they identified that we could extend some services to. So at the end of the month, the last 2 weeks of the month, what we do is we go and we deliver meals to those individuals because they're older individuals in our community and they look forward to it. We've developed relationships with some of the people there in the community, as well as, you know, they look forward to seeing us. And so that's been a really good thing. We've had different departments that have volunteered to go out, and what we do, we prepare the meals. We put them in their little warming packages, and then we take them out to the community. And at first we were asking the residents to come to like a centralized location, but as we saw them, we were like, no, this is not going to work. We're going to have to go door to door, because some of them were, you know, they had a few challenges with walking, and it was, some of them, it was a distance from where they lived. So what we decided to do is we go door to door and we deliver the meals, and it's been a really rewarding experience for me, as well as for the other employees who have assisted with this program. And then, you know, Boys and Girls Clubs, amazing, just amazing. And we partnered with them, and Will and the group, everyone, and the volunteers.
He's like the Energizer Bunny, Will is.
I know, he never sleeps.
He does not. But we need him to do that. He's always out there doing what he can. We appreciate that. Definitely.
And during the month of May, with, you know, donations from different organizations, including the city of Fort Pierce, he was able to, Boys and Girls Clubs, I will say, was able to.
Yeah, he doesn't work there alone.
True. But they delivered 75,000 meals during the month of May. And then we had our one big food distribution, which was held on May 30th. And at that event, we distributed 35,000 meals just in one day, because before that he had volunteers who were preparing meal packs for families of 4, which would feed a family for a week.
Right.
And we also had other nonprofit agencies. So we had over 1,000 meal packs. The other nonprofit agency partners, they came, they picked up a certain number of meal packs for their families that they had identified, and they took it back to their site. So we had like many distributions going on at the same time as that major distribution at Percy Peak Gymnasium.
I'm glad you guys all work together. And just for anybody watching, Graceway Village does do the deliveries on a smaller scale typically, but that is the core group that they reach out to, is the elderly, the people hard to reach. But I want to do a shout out for 211, because that is a great place to go find resources as an individual looking for anything. I don't know. It could be mental health services. Maybe this pandemic's really got you down. It could be financial. It could be food. It could be any of those things. Please call 211. They're the best place in the world to get resources, because we have a lot of partners.
Yes.
Treasure Coast Food Bank and Graceway and Fort Pierce Women's Club is doing meals. Lots of people are doing meals. Scott Van Duze, or everybody's doing it. But we want to make sure we put you in touch with the right person that can make sure your needs are met. So,
definitely.
But great job. And it's helpful because I knew that they were going to get Graceway. All these people, their resources are being stretched. And so for the city to step in and allow their workers to help out is really just a testimonial to Nick Mims, the city manager, and how he feels about digging in and helping out the community.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, there's been some stuff on TV. And I will say this about COVID testing. I really like to Google it, and I'll tell you why. Because when you Google it, it tells you if they require an appointment or a referral or what. But listen, whatever you decide to do or wherever you decide to go, you really should call ahead.
Yes.
And in Fort Pierce, they had identified sparse areas where testing was not available readily, and so you guys have tackled that a bit too. So tell us about the testing sites.
Yes, we have had two actually testing events. One was for a week long, and then we just actually culminated our testing. We had one last testing event on June in this past.
So it's gone.
Yes, it's gone. But and the thing with what we found is that people really want to be tested, and we opened up a call center to field calls from individuals who wanted an appointment, or either they were just trying to find where they could go get tested. And even still, after we have basically ended our testing, they're still calling. People are still calling. And so the testing right now that I know of that's available to our community was recently promoted in our local news, and that was at the Walmarts in Port St. Lucie.
Yes.
And that's where the testing is being held. And right now, located in Fort Pierce, we don't have a location, but we were able during those two events to test over 1,300 individuals.
Now, I'm wondering, is your Florida Community Health on Delaware doing testing? Because I know Florida Community Health Centers are doing testing. It's private. It's not a government-sanctioned testing. But I do believe you do have the availability to get tested in Fort Pierce, but we don't have any government sites.
Correct. And thank you for explaining that, because that's actually true. Yeah. But what we do encourage individuals is that if they need testing, call your healthcare provider to determine where you can get a test, because they are first and foremost the experts about on your health, as well as what is going on in our community. And our health department, call the health department. They are a wealth. The Department of Health. They are a wealth of knowledge and information. They were one of the organizations that assisted us with our testing sites, and I know that anytime we call, they always answer. And I know they're very responsive to our community.
Well, thank you, Audria. It's always nice to see you, even under these circumstances. Normally, we're having a little bit of fun, a little bit of biscuits and gravy at our breakfast, but times have changed, right?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
But we'll get through it. We'll get through it together, and we'll all come out on the other side. And I can't wait for that day when we can all get back together again. Yes. But thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
For those of you watching at home, as we tape this show in mid-June, we have been reopened for a little over 2.5 2.5 weeks as we tape the show, and we are seeing large spikes in number of cases and percentage of positives. I have gotten word from local hospital officials that ICUs are filling up quickly, and there is some concern amongst the business community that we are not conducting ourselves in a safe manner. So we again would like to refer you to the CDC guidelines, and there are CDC guidelines on how to operate your business as well, not just as an individual going out in the community, but actually how to make your workplace a safe place for both your employees and your patrons. I'm going to please beg you one more time to take a look at that, adhere to all of those recommendations that you possibly can, so that we can see a decrease in the percentage positive cases here on the Treasure Coast. In the meantime, you will see us again next month, most likely virtually, because we do want to take a positive step direction in reminding everybody that this isn't over, whether you want it to be or not. So, stay safe, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Audria and to I Think Financial for being our sponsor, and we'll see you next time, everybody.